All right. Hey, good morning, folks. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Sunday, August 4th, 2024. This is your morning update on Tropical Storm Debby. The storm continues to move northward this morning and is expected to make landfall as a hurricane in the Big Bend region of Florida in about 24 to 30 hours sometime on Monday afternoon and continue its slow crawling assault on the southeast U.S. A major flooding event is potentially shaping up along with a hurricane landfall for some folks. But big storm, big impacts, and a lot to get to this morning. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Morning satellite and radar presentation. We are going to have pretty much continuous radar coverage of Debby as it moves up. And overall, the storm remains somewhat ragged and lopsided, although the winds are definitely picking up today. Hurricane hunters are seeing stronger winds in this convective band to the east of the center of the storm and the center of Debby more over here today. So you can see that some dry air has worked in on the west side where there's less precipitation, although there's less radar coverage over here too. The cloud pattern does definitely suggest that there is less thunderstorm activity on that east side. And the storm is very lopsided today. So while, it did look pretty ominous last night on satellite, the under the hood look definitely suggested that this storm had work to do, and that remains the case today. We are looking at, we can go to the Hurricane Hunter data we have this morning. So NOAA is in the storm this morning, and they are finding that core of stronger winds, definitely well off to the east of that center of circulation, and fairly light winds at the center of circulation. That's kind of a big deal because this is going to have to broadly, rotate. Is going to have to kind of consolidate a little bit better to get a stronger core. And the question of how hard or how much can Debby really take off is heavily dependent on how this core structure builds. And so far, it doesn't look ultimately impressive. I definitely don't want to downplay this storm in any way, but I think that so far the intensity forecast of a Category 1 at landfall are holding, so that's good news, and it's going to take the storm a lot of today to continue to build these processes, and I think that if we see a more rapid intensification, it's going to be sometime tonight. The hurricane hunters or hurricane center this morning at 5 a.m. maximum sustained winds are 50 miles an hour, so they've come up a little bit from yesterday, but again, nothing horrible. It's not, we didn't wake up and go, oh my God, it's already a hurricane or something, because that would have been obviously worst case scenario. It's staying on schedule is, I guess, my point. Movement to the north-northwest at 13 miles an hour. You can see that we're slowly working back towards that eastward bend. We're slowly seeing that compass direction change a little bit. And no major changes from the Hurricane Center in terms of the cone. We have 2 p.m. Monday, we have the landfall still, so Hurricane Center kind of sticking to that. So no dramatic timing adjustments from yesterday after they kind of made that one big move. They've kind of kept it the same. Again, hurricane warnings extend up for a lot of the coastline of the Big Bend region. That's the Florida coast and the Swanee River to the Alachny River. And then we have the rest of the hurricane watches, warnings, and advisories in effect. The Hurricane Center also did add a small tropical storm watch to parts of the Georgia coastline, so that is now included. And obviously, there's a lot of counties in between here that also have tropical storm watches and warnings in effect. So it's not just a coastal thing. Those winds and whatnot will carry inland as well. So the overall look, again, is that kind of lopsided look, and that's what it's going to have for a little while today, but you'll gradually see the clouds begin to build off to the west and get around the backside of the storm, and once it closes off and builds that inner core, that's when, again, more rapid intensification can be ongoing. But I want to point out today that as Debby moves northward, these tropical rain bands are going to already be assaulting parts of southwest Florida, and y'all's heaviest rainfall event is now through pretty much Monday morning. So if you're south of the Tampa Bay area, this is where you're going to get your worst rain. And unfortunately for you guys, because Debby is moving parallel to the coast, these rain bands just keep training on y'all over and over and over, instead of the storm coming across west to east or east to west and you just get a bunch of rain, then it's over. This is just hours of training tropical rainfall. So there is a very high risk of flash flooding today in this region, and then all this just spreads northward. And I think for the rest of the peninsula, you're going to see more pockets and bursts of rain. It's going to be very overcast. Sun's going to be in and out, and you're just going to see periods where these little rain bands move in and dump on you for a couple minutes, and they move out. It'll be kind of hybrid in nature, but you'll definitely know there's a tropical system in the area with the nature of that start-stop in the rainfall. Not much left to talk about with the models. Overall, everything's still holding. HWRF still bringing Debby in early on Monday. That central pressure about 981 millibars, which is still suggesting Category 1 hurricane. I'm encouraged today that the HWRF or HMON or HFAS hasn't dramatically changed their forecast at landfall. So I think, again, that Hurricane Center call for about an 85 or so mile an hour hurricane at landfall is still holding on right now, and these models agree. Usually these models start getting a little more deep into the 970s and 960s, then we got to talk about something stronger, but they haven't yet, which is good news. Hopefully that trend continues. GFS going to illustrate this for us, the basic idea of how this plays out. Debby moves up. All the greens you see here on your map are deep tropical moisture, again, surging through Florida, but also laid up along the coast of the Carolinas, where some rainfall is likely today with daytime heating. So you're all going to get rainfall before the storm even shows up. Debby moves through, makes landfall. Again, GFS calling 980, which is right in line with the rest of the thinking so far. And all that tropical moisture, again, spreading into parts of Florida and in the South Carolina region already on Monday morning. And then it just continues to sit there and swirl. We move in from landfall 2 p.m., or that's 12 a.m. on this model. But even GFS might be moving this a little too fast. But then, that's 12 hours. It barely moves. And then 12 hours from that, it's still meandering along. It's going to take days to get this out of here. And this is just a lot of rainfall. I really want to stress the fact that you have this stalling, broad tropical system pulling all this moisture off the water and just slamming it back into parts of the coastline. This is going to be a major flooding event, and this lingers Wednesday into Thursday, and then even into Friday. The remnants of Debby look like they're still going to be somewhere around the southeast U.S. Hurricane Center's official forecast is more up into South Carolina, but honestly, Wednesday, Thursday, the storm could wander pretty much anywhere in the southeast region. So we really are rooting for the storm staying on shore. The less of the storm over water, the less moisture it can tap and the less rain it can pull back on shore. But overall, definitely a big setup here. Let's look at the impacts to come. WPC, as we kind of pointed out yesterday, we now have that high risk introduced to parts of Charleston, Savannah, and a lot of the South Carolina coastline. This includes Beaufort, Paris Island, even up towards Myrtle Beach, and several counties inland. High risk, the highest risk the WPC issues. This will be a massive flooding event, and it will be, someone on Twitter pointed out, it's probably going to be comparable in some ways to the 2015 flooding event. Definitely no two storms and no two events are the same, but there have been some floods like that in the past here, and this is going to rival most of the worst floods that some of the South Carolina coast and even Georgia coast has seen in some time. It will be a big rainfall event for the rest of the region, Florida and whatnot, but the potential for the worst flooding is definitely somewhere in that corridor along the coast of northern Georgia's coast through a lot of the South Carolina coastline, where you guys are going to unfortunately just be maximized in your time being assaulted by those onshore rain bands. Like Florida, as the storm moves away, some drier air will likely filter in on the backside, and the rain will be more sporadic into like Wednesday, Thursday, where y'all will just be continuing to get just pounded into the week. So not good news there. Rainfall totals and inches to come. Definitely the heaviest rainfall for Florida is going to be around in west of that I-75 corridor and north of the I-10 corridor. That's kind of like the separation of the heaviest rain and then like just a lot of rain, I would definitely say. And again, between Tallahassee and Lake City, you're looking at potential for 12 to 16 inches of rainfall, which is a lot of rain, guys. And already somewhat saturated soils. For the Jacksonville region, you can see it's tapered a little more by location if you're more on the south and east side of town. If you're more towards like Flagler and Palm Coast and southern St. John's and whatnot, like your rainfall totals on the lower end. If you're up towards northern Jacksonville, Nassau County, and you're kind of off to the west in McClinney or Western Clay, Stark, Keystone, you're looking at the 8 to 12 range. So kind of just think about in your head, well, where am I in relation to those areas for what kind of rain you could get? But broadly speaking, 6 to 10 inches of rain for the Northeast Florida area. And then of course up here where that highest flash flood risk guidance is, the potential for 20 plus inches of rain in major cities like Savannah and Charleston, guys. These are major populated cities. These aren't just random towns, all of this area could see just catastrophic flooding if this comes to fruition. So we're really hoping that doesn't pan out, but the potential absolutely on the table there. Peak storm surge to come, up to 10 feet of storm surge forecast for the southeast or the western Florida coastline. Again, from where that hurricane warning pretty much is, Swanee River, Osceola River, region, 6 to 10 feet. If Idalia produced that kind of storm surge, this one will too. And if you weren't there for Idalia, I wouldn't be there for this one. This is going to be life-threatening storm surge in this region, and even further south, up to 4 feet of water rise in Tampa Bay, and even northward of that, up to 7 feet towards Yankeetown. So a lot of storm surge to come with this as well. Even if it's only a Category 1 hurricane, it's a big one, and it will push a lot of water inland. So don't let that intensity fool you into thinking the storm surge won't be life-threatening, because it will near the coast there. Tornadoes also going to be a big threat with this one, especially across northern Florida. The tornado risk in the SPC today, all up and down the peninsula of Florida, that 5% risk means they're probably going to be issuing tornado watches if they haven't already. I didn't actually check that. No watches yet, but those will likely come into play today. And then we go into Monday. You can see northern Florida still under the threat. I think northern Florida is going to have a lot of tornado watches, and tornadoes are a significant threat. Again, tropical tornadoes, short in duration and often spin up fast, but they are still pretty much a big deal. And finally, for the Jacksonville area, your National Weather Service has your local briefing up now. And mostly what we talked about, I will have another one of these myself and give you all a more detailed breakdown. But you can see, who's under a tropical storm watch and warning in the area. Most of the Northeast Florida counties on the coast are out. Nassau, Duval, Clay, St. John's, Flagler, and Putnam out of it for now. But if you're west of that 301 corridor, you are under a tropical storm watch. And then if you're in Southeast Georgia, you're under a tropical storm watch. Winds still to come, mostly in that 39 to 57 mile an hour range. Again, we said about 40, 45 in gusts. That's a pretty good call for the most part. Storm surge, not a big deal, but there will be some water rise across Georgia up to 3 feet or so. Flooding, rainfall, we already pretty much covered that. And tornado risk, already pretty much covered that. Going to be a big deal. So we'll have more Jacksonville-specific stuff today, and we will have more as it pans out. We'll be covering this all day and throughout tonight. I don't know if I'll have an evening video because I won't be off work till pretty late, but we will do our best to have the updates rolling along, and then obviously check the Facebook page if you want the latest on what's going on. So that's what I got for you guys today. Stay safe, folks. Hunker down. Get your preparations done today if you haven't already, and then just prepare for some wind and a lot of rain with this one. That's what I got for you guys today. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.